Welcome to Obsidian Screams, where fear never sleeps.
We dive into the darkest corners.
Subscribe if you dare.
The day after Valentine's Day is usually a day of wilted roses and discarded chocolate boxes, but in the city of Oakhaven, it is the day the air turns cold for a very different reason. The streets were quiet as a woman in a shimmering crimson dress walked gracefully through the morning mist. She was breathtakingly beautiful, with hair like spun silk and eyes that seemed to hold every secret a man ever wanted to hear. To the world, she looked like a lonely romantic. To the lost men of the city, those wandering the bars because they had no one, or those hiding from the girlfriends they had betrayed the night before, she looked like a second chance. In a dimly lit corner of a park, she found her first target. His name was Julian, and the scent of expensive perfume that didn't belong to his wife still clung to his collar. When he saw her, he forgot his guilt. He saw only her porcelain skin, and the way she smiled as if he were the only man on earth. "Are you lost?" she whispered, her voice like honey in crushed glass. Julian leaned in, captivated. He didn't notice that her shadow on the snow had jagged, clawed hands. He didn't notice that the birds had stopped singing the moment she stepped near. He only wanted to taste the promise in her smile. "I am now," he replied, reaching out to touch her cheek. He leaned in for a kiss, his eyes closing in anticipation. But as his lips touched hers, the warmth didn't come. Instead, a bone-chilling cold surged through his chest. He tried to pull away, but her grip was like iron. When he opened his eyes, the beautiful woman was gone. In her place was a hollow-cheeked creature with eyes like black pits and a mouth that opened far too wide. She didn't breathe. She drank. She pulled the shimmering, pale light of his soul directly from his lungs. Julian's body went limp, his skin turning the color of ash as he collapsed into the snow. By the time the police found him an hour later, there were no footprints leading away from the body. There was only a single, wilted black rose pinned to his lapel. The beautiful woman was already miles away, fading into the mist, waiting for the next February 15th to claim another heart that didn't deserve to beat. Detective Miller stood over Julian's body, his breath hitching in the frozen morning air. This was the third heart attack he'd seen this morning, all of them men, all of them found in public places, and all of them looking like they had been drained of their very color. "Check the lapel," Miller grunted to the forensic tech. The tech reached down and pulled back the fabric of Julian's expensive wool coat. There it was, a single, wilted black rose, its petals brittle and cold despite the morning sun. Miller felt a cold sweat prickle his neck. He walked back to his squad car and pulled out a dusty file from the previous year, February 15th, 2025. The photos were identical. For men found dead in different parts of the city, no signs of struggle, no poison in their blood, just that same black rose, and a look of absolute terror frozen on their gray faces. "It's not a coincidence," Miller whispered to himself. He began to look through the witness statements from the night before. Every one of them mentioned a woman. Some said she wore red, others said she wore black. But they all described her the same way, the most beautiful woman they had ever seen. One witness, a bartender, mentioned a name he'd overheard a man whisper before walking out into the mist with her. "Morana," Miller read aloud from his notes. The moment the name left his lips, the temperature in the car dropped. The windows frosted over instantly, turning the world outside into a white blur. Miller looked into his rearview mirror, and his heart nearly stopped. Sitting in the back seat was a woman with hair like spun silk, wearing a dress the color of fresh blood.
You shouldn't have said my name, detective,
she whispered. Her reflection in the mirror began to ripple, her beautiful face stretching and cracking like dry parchment to reveal the darkness underneath. Detective Miller didn't reach for his gun. He knew Lead wouldn't stop a shadow. As the temperature plunged, his fingers scrambled for the glove box, snapping it open just as Morana's clawed hand brushed the back of his neck. His skin hissed where she touched him, turning a
I am
bruised,
the
deathly
end of all
purple.
things.
He gripped the heavy silver crucifix, but he didn't hold it up to pray. Instead, he slammed the car into gear and floored the accelerator, screaming as he drove the vehicle straight toward the frozen lake at the edge of the park.
If I go to hell, I'm dragging you back with me!
Just as the car hit the icy bank, Miller slammed the silver cross into the creature's open, cavernous maw. The silver didn't just burn her, it ignited. A blinding, white-hot light erupted from inside her throat, clashing with the oily blackness of her spirit. The monster let out a sound that wasn't a scream. It was the sound of 1,000 dying echoes. The car launched into the air and crashed through the thin ice of the lake. As the freezing water rushed in, the light from the cross turned the interior into a furnace of holy fire. Miller watched through the rising bubbles as Miranda's beautiful skin peeled away like burning paper, revealing a skeletal, shrieking thing that turned to fine, gray ash before his eyes. Miller managed to kick out the window and claw his way back to the surface, gasping for air that felt like needles in his lungs. He crawled onto the snowy bank, shivering and broken. The monster was gone. The black roses in the city withered and turned to dust that very moment. But when Miller looked at his reflection in the dark water of the lake, he didn't recognize the man looking back. His hair had turned bone white, and his eyes, once a bright blue, were now a hollow, lightless gray. He had killed the witch, but a part of his soul had been drained away in that final kiss of silver and shadow. He walked away into the morning light, a silent man who would never smile again, carrying a coldness in his chest that no sun could ever warm.
Thanks for surviving another nightmare with ObsidianScream. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see what lurks in the shadows next.